failed bombing of a Detroit-bound plane on Christmas, terrorism may work its way onto the agenda in the 2010 midterm elections, alongside, of course, the economy and healthcare reform. The GOP says Democrats are too soft on terror, but Democrats accuse Republicans of failing to vote on important security issues. So how is this going to work? With us now is Democratic strategist Julian Epstein and Danny Vargas, Republican strategist. Danny, there's that old sort of axiom in politics that when somebody shoots themselves in the foot, you don't say a word, you don't draw attention to yourself. How did Republicans, in the midst of a time when everybody was concerned about how the Obama administration may have dropped the ball, how did Republicans help themselves by having Dick Cheney inject himself into this?
Well, you know, we've talked about this before, David. I'm not going to defend everything that Dick Cheney says, but I will say this. I will say that the administration, the Obama administration, whether it was through Secretary Napolitano or the president himself, I think they missed an opportunity to get back to the footing where we're saying that we have to take the terrorist threat seriously. It is a real threat out there. We can't take it cavalierly. We can't treat it as if it were just common crime out there. And when the president came out on that first day and he made the false assumption that it was an isolated incident, I think he would have been better off saying, we've got to look at this seriously. We've got to look at whatever failures are in the system, as opposed to taking it sort of lightly.
And that was a far more calm, rational analysis than we've heard from most Republicans this week. And Julian, isn't that perhaps why the Democrats are benefiting, that because the Republicans have been so loud and shrieking about how long Obama's taken and Dick Cheney wanting to draw attention back to himself, the Democrats have benefited at a time when they could have been hurt?
Well, I don't think we were as hurt as much. I think anytime Dick Cheney gets out there, it helps the Democrats. Anytime the Republicans look like they're exploiting national security issues, it doesn't help them. Having said that, I think that this national security issue is and should be the #1 issue facing Congress when it gets back. It is very true that the Democrats inherited a dysfunctional bureaucracy, inherited a system where we didn't have the right kind of technology at the airports. But it's not enough for Democrats to simply say that Republicans failed to implement the 9/11 Commission recommendations, because Democrats are in control right now. Democrats can't keep pointing the finger at Republicans. Democrats are the ones that are responsible. And I don't think that we've had a particularly good week in the way that this incident was handled. What Congress needs to do when they get back, and what the administration needs to do, is give the bureaucracy a swift kick in the pants and get this no-fly watch system working. It's very dysfunctional. It's broken. Democrats also need to, I think, pass, and we had a bipartisan vote against this, but we need to pass and fund body imaging technology. I think a lot of civil libertarians and privacy advocates, and I'm very sympathetic to them, I worked with them very much when I was at the Judiciary Committee, I think that they're going to complain about it, but I think that they're wrong. I think that privacy issues are going to need to take a back seat to security issues here, and I think Democrats cannot afford to look like they are erring on the side of privacy here and against security. This is a really, really serious issue, both from a national security point of view, but also from a political point of view for Democrats.
And David, I'll add this. I think I'll make news here. I'll say this is one of those opportunities where Julian and I are going to agree. I think this is definitely the time for bipartisanship. We need to put political concerns aside. This is national security that we're talking about. We need to be able to get to that point where all of us, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, are focused on the real threats out there. And the political correctness of voting profiling and so forth, we know where the threat is coming from. We need to be able to attack it at its core, at its root, and then put the security mechanisms in place to make sure that we can keep the American public safe.
Well, it is nice.
I don't necessarily think that racial... I don't think
I'm not
racial
talking about racial
profiling is the answer.
profiling. I'm not talking about racial profiling. I'm talking about countries of origin. I'm talking about ideology. I'm talking about those things that are not necessarily racial.
I think there is some role in properly managed body. I think you both agree on the body imaging. I mean, you're absolutely right, and Julian pointed out there was this $1.1 billion measure that Congress defeated that would have put in place some of these body images scanners at various airports. There were a number of Democrats and also a number of Republicans who voted against that. I think if you had the vote now, you might come up with a different outcome. In any case, Democratic strategist Julian Epstein and Danny Vargas, Republican strategist, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys later this afternoon. We're not done with you, don't worry.